Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Levittown Public Library Vygotsky class with Kimberly on Monday, August 23rd at 11 a.m. Take it away, Kimberly.
Let me take it away. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back for another week with me. Those of you that are new, we are going to be using some interesting stuff around the house. Not too interesting, just a pillow. This is the Vygotsky class. We're working with your posture. And we're going to be using a chair today. If you have a chair or an ottoman, you want it to be about 24 to 26 inches in height. That's the height of your own hip. You don't really want to go any higher than that. So if you guys are using a bed at home, bed's probably going to be a little bit too high. We want to trap the legs at a nice 90-degree angle. So you can use some pillows. I've seen that in the past, maybe even some books, if you like books. I want you guys to grab a pillow or a block. I've got my Vygotsky blocks. You could use those pink yoga blocks. If you got some of those, you want it to have a lot of resistance. So if you're using a pillow off of your bed, you're going to be folding it in half when we do come to the time where we're going to use it, because you want a lot of resistance when we use it. For today, I'm going to warm everybody up and start to get the body realigned before we do our strengthening routine, which I have planned for everybody. We're going to start out on the floor. If anybody has any problem getting on the floor, you can definitely do a lot of these moves sitting in a chair. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do it on the floor, and then I'll modify for you. We're going to do ankle circles, point flexes to start out today, everybody. And what I want you new people to remember, if something is not working out for you, if something doesn't feel right, please stop the move and either wait for a modification or I'll do my best to quicken it up. So when we lay on the floor, this can also be done in a chair, everybody. You're going to lay as flat as you can. We're trapping the body into flat. I want you to keep your feet hip distance, and then we're going to pull the right knee in towards the chest. Notice how my leg didn't go out to the side. You want to keep this nice, beautiful alignment in line with your hips, in line with your hips. If you cannot pull your knee into your chest, maybe you could take a strap and use that to hang on to. You want to pull in deeply. I'm going to take my ankle, adjust my ankle through a big outward rotation. Notice I'm not moving from my knee. Troubleshooting for you guys. No movement in the knee. You want to keep the knee still, only move from the ankle. Also, here's another place where people go wrong. They keep the heel dropped. I want you to try to keep your shin parallel to the floor while we take this outward rotation. If you need a break here, you might not be able to do 40 like I'm demonstrating. You might only be able to do 5. I want everybody to keep on going in this outward rotation if you can. We're going to go in both directions. For those of you who cannot get on the floor, you can get this done sitting in a chair quite easily. So you can pick the leg up and start rotating. Even if you can't pick the leg up that high, assist yourself, lean back, get creative. Can be done in a chair. Big outward rotation, guys. Try to keep your feet as open as possible. Move through your toes, separate them. You can do this with shoes on, but I'm not, for good reason. I want my toes to separate. We're going to take it in the other direction. If you're okay with that, everybody, inward circles. And again, if this is too much for you, you can switch your leg. Go back and forth. 5 on one leg, 5 on the other leg, 5 on one leg, 5 on the other leg. This is not an easy move. It's really not. So the sequence that I decided to take everybody through today is actually another sequence, just like last week. It's on YouTube with Pete Vygotsky narrating it. Now I'm going to throw in some extras, stuff that he doesn't have in this sequence, but I really like this sequence. This is the pre-walk alignment sequence. So if you're going out for a walk, I know some of you do, maybe not today. This is a great sequence to start yourselves off with. And then I'll show you the cool down too. The realignment sequence for after your walk. Point and flex, everybody. I pull my toes towards my knee and I point my toes away from me, all moving through my ankle. I am keeping my right knee pulled in deeply. So I'm flexed deeply from my hip. Don't let your heel drop to your butt, folks. I want you to keep your shin parallel to the floor. That's going to keep the work in the hip. Don't believe me? Go ahead and try it. Drop your heel on your butt and do your point flexes, and then pick your heel up so it's parallel to the floor, and you'll notice the difference. Very easy to do this in a chair. You guys got to get creative with me. So if there's a modification you come up with that I'm not coming up with, do it. I'd rather you do something than give up on yourself and do nothing. Ooh, this is interesting today. I'm actually feeling this in my butt. Usually I feel this in the outside of my hip. My butt is starting to turn on. Interesting. I hope everybody's keeping your feet in line with your hips. In line with your hips, so you're not letting your heel come in towards your crotch, anything like that, keeping in the same beautiful line. I'm going to switch to the other leg now, everybody. I know we're here for a long time, but again, I'm going to show you from the front. You want to keep the feet in line with your hips. It's about as big as my fist in between my toes. I pull my knee in. It's where everybody goes wrong here. Well, bad, Kim. Everybody doesn't go wrong. Everybody doesn't go wrong. So the deeper you pull your knee in towards your chest, usually the hip says, I want to be lazy. And it starts taking your leg out to the side. Did anybody notice that? So you want to keep the knee in line with your hip. Of course, if you're 8 months pregnant, that's going to be a little tough to do. If you got different shapes, it's going to be a little bit tough to do, but try to keep the knee in line with the hip. Maybe don't pull it in so deep. If you're 8 months pregnant, you're probably not laying on the floor like this anyway. It'd be so terribly uncomfortable. So we wouldn't be doing a move like this for an 8-month pregnant woman. Big outward rotations. Again, try not to move through the knee. Keep the knee still. I put my hands behind my knee so that I leave my knee the ability to move, but I consciously keep my knee from moving. That's how I do this move. Oh, this is my tough side, of course. Can't quite get my circles as pretty as I'd like. I'm going to go in now. Big circles. Oh, I need a break, but I'm not going to take it. Look like a weakling. You guys might notice as I do these routines with you, I stick in moves that I know I need, that I haven't been doing in my routines, things like that. And I don't look like I'm the best at them. Because they're moves that I kind of skip over sometimes. So I haven't done this in a while. So I give it to you and I notice, oops, I better stick that back in my routine. Ankle circles, point flexes, or foot circles, point flexes. That's what these are called. You guys can get ahead of me as well. If you know the names of some of these, and you start looking them up online, if you give them a search, you're going to come to an Egoscue link. Point flex now, everybody. Point your toes away, pull it back. You're going to come to Egoscue website links, and you're going to see that it says at the top, Egoscue, blah, 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 menu, probably number 127 or number 56. If you're savvy like me, you can change those numbers and change it to number 20, change it to number 21, change it to number 22, and go ahead and hit enter, and you'll get the entire menu of every Egoscue exercise that there ever was by doing that. There's over 500 of them. So if you really want to get savvy and you want to find every Egoscue exercise and try it out, see how it works on your body, then go ahead and meet me next week and say, oh, Kim, I tried this weirdo move. It was great. Let me know. Let me know. Just a few more of these, everybody. I hope you're still point flexing with me. Our next move is going to be hip lift. You can do it in a chair. You can do it on the floor. Same idea. Oh, gosh, I'm tired. Here we go. Come to the hook lying position. Looks like I'm sitting in a chair, right? You're going to bend both of your knees. Really important to keep your feet hip distance in this one. Very important. And when I come into the move, what I'm going to do is keep my foot on the floor, right foot on the floor. I'm going to cross my left ankle to my left knee. This might be really intense for some of you. You might not be able to get here. If this is as far as you can go, then that's it. This is where you stay. Don't even come any further. But I'm not going to let this foot slide. See what I just did there? That's a no-no. You want to keep your right foot in line with your hip. Just like we did in our last move, you're going to pull your right knee in towards your chest. I'm using my hip muscles. This is hard. We're going to hold this one for a minute. Right knee pulls in towards my chest. Now at the same time, my left knee is going to draw away from me. So there's this push-pull going on. If this is too difficult for you to do, keep your foot on the floor, but just keep the tension going. So keep the tension in your right hip as if you're going to pick the knee towards your chest and as if you're going to push the left knee away from you. Just keep the tension until you finally have the strength to accomplish this. Not easy. Last week, I believe it was last week, we did this on the wall. It's called assisted hip lift. So I put my foot on the wall to help me with this. In a perfect world, your hips are going to stay just as level as they were when both of your feet were on the floor. So there's no twisting and torquing of your body. It stays just as level and just as in alignment. If that happens to you and you get this twisting and contorting, you can go ahead and put the foot back on the floor until you have the strength to stay balanced while you pick the legs up. Let's switch to the other side. I'm going to show you again. Feet stay in line with your hips. This move is called hip lift. Feet are in line with your hips. Right ankle to the left knee. I know I make that look easy. Right knee draws away from me. Left knee, I'm going to pull it up towards me. 1 minute. You can absolutely do this sitting in a chair. All I'm doing is sitting in the chair with my ankle crossed to my knee. Looks simple, right? Just get creative. Turn me 90 degrees so my head is facing forward. I'm sitting in a chair. Very simple to do. You're sitting in that chair. If you can't get down on the floor with me, I want you to sit as upright as you can. Keep working this move. Do not use your hands. Arms stay relaxed. Try to keep your leg at 90 degrees. Not use your hands to pull it in. We're not working on stretch. This is stretch, strengthen. This is balancing out this tension. There's a tensegrity going on. We're basically tensegrity devices. Go ahead and look that up. We're going to take it into the hip crossover stretch, a different version of hip lift. Feet are going to be on the floor. I'll show you how to do this in a chair, but first on the floor. Right ankle to left. Now let's go left ankle to right knee. Same idea with our beginning. We're going to bring the arms out to a T and go palms face down. And we're going to twist through our lower back and let our legs fall to the floor. I'm going to show you the other angle over here. So same idea. Keep your right foot in line with your hip. Twist. Hold that for 1 minute. Make sure your left knee points to the sky. I don't want your knee falling towards your chest. You don't want it to flop in. You want to use the muscles on the outside of your hip to point the knee up. Getting this done in a chair, everybody. You can sit in a chair, cross your ankle over, and then just twist. Same idea. See how creative that is? So there's no excuses. No excuses. This move is called hip crossover stretch. Got about 20 more seconds just hanging out here. There is a tendency, the foot that's on the floor, flat on the floor, or coming towards that foot has a tendency to evert. I want you to try to keep the toes pointed in the direction that your knee joint is pointing. I'm going to switch to the other side. I'm going to show you what I mean. So when I cross over and I twist, this foot has a tendency to do this. You want to keep it pointed in the same direction as your knee when you come into the move. Right ankle to left knee. Go ahead and twist, everybody. 1 minute. Whenever you're doing Egoscue moves, it's always a good idea to keep in the back of your mind, maintain 90-degree angles. That's what I mean by keeping your form. So I mentioned before that our bodies are tensegrity devices. Our bones would not hold themselves up if it wasn't for all the tissue, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, all of that around it, on the outside of it. Buildings work a different way. We are a tensegrity device. So all of that tissue on the outside holds our bones up. And it relies on the tension on one side for the opposite side to do its job well. It's kind of like how an antenna is held up. Those AM antennas that are held up with the guide wires, same thing. One wire doesn't work, the tension changes on the rest of the wires. Okay, I'm gonna flip you guys over to hands and knees. We're gonna do a cats and dogs. Can't do cats and dogs on hands and knees, do it in your chair. It's the same idea. So I want you guys to come to hip distance with your knees. I catch so many of us going way too wide or way too narrow. The other thing I catch is everybody putting their knees right underneath their belly button or way too far back. You want your knees right underneath your hip. I like to kind of dangle my leg and then say up where it stops, kind of like a plumb line. Arch your back and round. If this hurts your wrists, you can come onto your fists to take any flexion out of your wrists. If that still isn't working for you, you can do this in a chair. You don't have to put your knees and your hands on anything. All I'm doing is arching my back and rounding my back. So simple. So simple, but can be challenging. Be aware of your shoulder blades. We're taking the shoulders into protraction and retraction. Don't let them get stuck. If they do get stuck, there's a bit of a Band-Aid. You can stance your arms out wider, and that'll stop the elbows from bending. That'll allow your shoulders to retract a little bit easier. There's another Band-Aid. Don't crane your neck up so high. Has a tendency to kind of jam people in their upper back even more if they have a hard time to begin with. I'm going to take you into kneeling groin stretch. This is not an easy move. If you cannot get it done on your hands and knees, I'll show you how to do it with your crappy hair thing falling out. So if you cannot be on your hands and knees, you're going to stand by a wall. You're going to take your foot behind you on top of a chair or a counter. You could hold on to something, and you're going to take it into a stretch like so. For everybody else, if you can get on your hands and knees, 1 minute each side, kneeling groin stretch. So starting from the hands and knees position, I'm going to place my right foot where my right hand is. Again, be very pretty. Be very pretty with this. When I step forward, I look behind me and make sure my ankle doesn't do this. See how my foot came across? You want to keep the ankle in line with your knee and hip. So I step forward, find my balance, press my upper body off of my leg. This is tough for a few of my clients. They might need something to hang on to on either side. So work it how you have to work it, everybody. The leg that's behind me is where I'm getting the stretch, but there's also work going on here. This is not an easy move. Hips have to be stable in order to stop you from falling left to right. You shouldn't need your arms to help you here. Muscles should be awake enough to hold you here, but if they're not, hang on to something until they get strong enough and capable enough to hold you here. Again, this can get done in a standing position with your leg behind you on a chair. You'll feel the stretch coming into the front of your thigh and even into your hip. Take your leg wherever you like until you feel that stretch. This is called the kneeling groin stretch. I'm going to switch sides. I step my left foot where my left hand is. In the back of my mind, how am I maintaining 90-degree angles? So thinking 90-degree angles, stay in line. Again, if you're not using the floor, put your foot on a chair or something higher behind you and start to feel that stretch. Here we go, 1 minute. Can you understand why these moves are in a pre-walk alignment sequence? want you guys to chew on that. Why would I be giving you these moves? This is also an excellent routine for a pre-run. We're waking up the hips. We're taking the hips into extension, knees into extension. This is one of my favorite moves, because many of us don't come into a strong move like this. Strong hip extension. We don't come into it when we're walking around throughout the day. Come on out. Cats and dogs again, whether you're sitting in your chair doing it or on hands and knees. Cats and dogs. And the chair looks like this. You guys know it. Same thing. Let me give you a move I haven't given you in a little while. I'm going to do a downward facing dog. I'm going to hold it for 1 minute. Egoscue style is different. We like to be very hip driven. The tendency in a yoga class is to not cue it from the hips. I taught yoga for years. I know what it's like to listen to the instructor cue it. I've never heard an instructor cue it the way that I do. So I'm the best. So listen to me. Totally kidding, everybody. From your hands and knees position, you're going to tuck your toes and you're going to lift your hips. Now, I stay really bent in my knees because what I want to do is try to pull back from my hips rather than push back from my hands. It's not a handstand, everybody. It's not a handstand, but everybody's got hips in a very weakened position, in a weakened situation. So this ends up being almost like a handstand. You feel how much weight is in your hands? When I used to teach at the libraries, I would go around and give everyone a tiny little adjustment, and all of a sudden you'd hear them go, oh, because I took the weight off of their hands and made their hips work, and it changed downward dog. If you cannot do downward dog like this, you can get this done on a wall. So if you can't come to hands and knees, you're going to come here. It's another version. Stay with me for 20 more seconds, everybody. I want you to try to think about drawing backwards from your hips. So I'm pulling my knees in towards my chest and igniting my legs. Trying to take the effort off of my arms. Which is tough to do because one of my arms isn't working. Extension really stinks for me here. Okay, come on out, everybody. I'm going to have you guys come up to a standing position. We are going to do that quad stretch modification that I just showed you before. I want you to grab a chair or your ottoman, whatever it is. I'm going to show you the quad stretch and then harder than the quad stretch version for those of you that want to go there. So quad stretch is pretty simple, but might not be easy. I'm going to hold 1 minute on each side. I'm going to take your foot behind you. But when you do it, I want you to keep your knees in the same horizontal line as each other. I don't want you to come forward, back. I want your knees to stay in line, as if someone just photoshopped the bottom part of your leg out of the picture. So I don't want your knee forward. I don't want your knee behind you. I want it in the same line. So we're going to stand as upright as we can. Take your foot as high as you need to. I think I need something a little bit higher, but I'm going to show you the harder version. This is standing quad stretch. Standing quad stretch. That's it. Harder version, the one that I'm going to do. This one is screaming pigeon. You trap your leg against the wall. Not easy to do. I come to my hands and knees. I trap my leg against the wall. You see how I'm putting my knee in the corner? My shin is on the wall. Now I'm going to step my right leg forward and press myself up. 1 minute. So that's the harder version. This is called screaming pigeon in yoga. This is my tighter side, so it looks a little weird. Again, you don't want to contort your body to get out of this. If you're noticing, oh my goodness, I'm contorting my body, I'll show you what that looks like. I'm contorting my body, that's too much. You want to keep your form, everybody. So I've seen some people try to do this and they end up looking like this. Say, what are you doing? That looks nothing like what we're going after. So stop beating yourself up. You want to be able to keep the form, maintain your square form. And if you can't, stop doing the harder version. I'm just giving this to those of you who have that ability to do this and who want a little bit more. We're going to go to the other side. Again, we're doing quad stretch, either with your leg hooked on a table or a chair behind you, or you're going to do like I'm demonstrating, screaming pigeon. 1 minute. Get yourself situated. And press yourself up. So this is the beginning move in the walk realigner. So this is the start of what you would do after you're done with your walk. We're just holding a minute on each leg. If you can't do that, do 10 seconds, do 20 seconds, do what you can. But do not contort yourself. You want to be able to stay square in whichever form you're choosing, whichever exercise you're choosing. Keep your form. Wonderful. Come on out of it. Next move, it's difficult. It's probably the most difficult move I've ever given people. It's just hard to keep the form. It's that involved. Same idea from the hands and knees as the quad stretch we did, except this time I want you to think of being on a balance beam. That's where we're going to place our feet. So I'm going to show you what it looks like from the front. You are going to need a chair or something in front of you, because I haven't seen many people who can hit the floor while keeping a little arch in their lower back. So from hands and knees, I put my right foot in front and I touch my right heel to my left knee. This is my line that I'm going to stand up for. Of course, I'm against the wall over here. Let me move forward a little bit. There we go. Oh, I hit the wall again. One more time. There we go. So I'm on my balance beam. The key here is to not drop or twist your hips. You want to stay very balanced. That's why I'm going to stick something in front of me. So I'm going to show you it from the side. I'm going to stick something in front of me. This is our runner's stretch. Right foot goes in front, heel touches knee. This is just for our setup. Then I stand. Now you want to put an arch in your lower back. See how rounded I am? We're going to go in the other direction. Arch. You're going to feel a lot of tension come down the back of both of your legs. Knees stay straight. Try to divvy up the weight evenly between your front and your back leg. Keep the arch in your lower back and hang. If I actually do hang and let go, I start to round. You see that? I don't want you to do that here. Eventually, you should be able to come to the point where you don't have to use your arms to hang on and you still have an arch in your lower back, no bent knees. I haven't touched on this move in the longest time. I used to be able to do this with my hands on the floor with a little bit of an arched back. Peter Gosku can do it with hands flat on the floor with an incredibly arched back. So he can get this done. Me, not so much anymore, but I'm building back up. It's not about being able to touch the floor. Once you start getting down, if your back starts rounding, we're losing the form. I want you to stay in anterior tilt in your pelvis. Good, we're gonna switch our sides. You got the idea. Left foot comes in front, heel touches knee. If you can't do that, come a little further away, but keep your feet on that balance beam right in front of each other. Tuck your toes, Come on up. Bring your chair or ottoman right in front, whatever you have to hang on to. Distribute your weight evenly. Arch the back. 1 minute. This is called runner's stretch. I'm trying not to be heavy on my arms. I really want this load to come onto my legs. I want my legs to remember. There's a length and tension to each part of our tissues, of our muscles. Length, proper length and tension. When the fascia starts to memorize shortened length and more tension, it kind of holds the muscle in a ball. And that's where you're feeling that tightness, either in your calf or your hamstring. So it's memorized a certain pattern and it's lost its proper length and tension. When that happens, our form suffers. And that's our posture, relationship of joints to one another. When we start to see one shoulder's lifted, one foot turns out, blah, blah, blah. This is just helping our body remember where it's designed to go. Static back's coming up next. I want you guys to keep your block or your pillow nearby. Block or pillow nearby. I'm going to take you into a static back sequence. Okay. Readjust my hair. Goodness. It has been so humid, hasn't it? I am sweating. It's just not going anywhere. It's staying in the air. All right, everybody. So remember, static back, you want to remember 90-degree angles. Put your body where 90 degrees is. If your heels are lower than your knees, put some pillows or blankets underneath. You want to try to get 90 degrees. We're trapping a body. Just hang out here for a minute. I'm not going to give you guys a full static back because we have some moves to do in this position. Beginning from our standing quad stretch or screaming pigeon, that's the post walk sequence. So if you guys are taking this as a routine for your pre and post walk, this is a good one. I stole it. I'm going to add some other stuff in there for you. Okay, we're going to go for some pullovers, ladies and gentlemen. We're staying in the static back position. Keep your block nearby. Put your arms straight up to the sky, easy peasy. Elbows stay straight as you drop your hands backwards, overhead behind you. I am not able to hit the floor just yet. My left shoulder is hindering me. You might be able to, but don't you dare bend your elbows to get there. I could cheat here if I wanted to. Sure, I could bend my elbows and touch the floor. But as soon as I bend my elbows, it shuts my shoulder and my back off. I want to reteach my shoulder and my back how to go through this range of motion. So I must keep my elbows straight. Elbows stay straight. Before we started class, we were talking about myofascial release and other techniques. I want you guys to remember that in Egoscue, it's not based on a premise of effort. This is a pretty simple move, and you'll find that it's extremely effective if you go through the reps. You don't have to effort in order to get results. And that was the premise of this other posture, cruddy putt. I'm not even going to mention their name because I don't even want you guys to get confused. But it ended up hurting me and a few other people. So the premise of Egoscue is about less effort, and you actually get more done. That's why I like Egoscue. It helps me an awful lot. Okay, Take your pillow or your block. I'm going to stay in static back for this one. Put it right in between your knees. You guys will remember Thigh Master. That's what we're going after here. You're going to squeeze your pillow and release it. Remember, if this is a pillow off of your bed, it's not going to have enough resistance. So you have to fold it in half or maybe even in threes. You want an awful lot of resistance here. You can get yourselves a yoga block if you want to. About $5 at the store, even less if you get it online, maybe. But it is a good idea to support local. You can get a roll of Bounty. I've seen some people do that. A really, really thick roll. Just get it done. Can everybody understand why we've been doing these moves to realign our body after our walk? Does this make sense to you? Why we would be doing moves such as these? There are routines that we do before our exercise, before Pilates, before yoga, before jumping on the trampoline. You always want to bring the most aligned and functional body that you can to your workout, to your day. I almost hate using the word functional now because everybody throws it around. When I used to have my website up, I had that blog on all the buzzwords, functional. I love talking to all the, I'm not going to hold back all the stupid people that taught at gyms, and they throw around these words, and then I'd ask them, what does that mean? And either they couldn't answer me, which was an opportunity for them to learn, or the last time I asked someone, they got mad. How dare you? How dare you get mad at me? Because I asked you something you don't know? Yeah, very interesting. I still have that video up so you can listen to my listen to my talk that I had with that gentleman. I asked him to define a word that he used with me. He's trying to throw words at me, thought I didn't know what I was talking about. I came in looking like an idiot on purpose. Interesting. So when we are gaining more function, we're gaining the ability to for our bodies to do the work they're designed to do. Function equals work and design. By design, that's the word. This was designed to do this. Does it do that? And that's what we're doing. We're restoring that function. So we're going after hip flexor in here. Great. We're going to come into frog position now, everybody. Nice and easy. Love this one. By the way, that move can be done sitting in a chair. Basically, that's what I was doing, sitting in a chair, except I'm laying on my back. Very easy to do. I'm going to take you into frog position. Soles of the feet come together and the knees drop out. I'm going to hold that for uno minuto. Can you get this done in a chair? Yes, you can. 1 minute. That's why I really enjoy Egoscue. The understanding of what function is and a true restoration of function is getting the parts to do what they're designed to do. Your hips should be able to externally rotate. They should be able to abduct. That's what we're going after in here. And we're trying to get the correct muscles whose job it is to do this to wake up and do that. That's why sometimes when we do our hip work and we do our glute squeezes, I always ask you, where do you feel it? Some people do glute squeezes, they feel it down here on their leg. They don't feel it at all. They feel it in their abdominals. That's not quite functioning by design. When you do work from your hip, it should be the glute doing the work when you're trying to squeeze the glute, right? So if you're feeling it in other places, we haven't quite restored that function yet. So we'll wait there until that function gets restored, or I'll give you something else. You want the right parts to do their job. That's function. Okay, everybody, I do not want to run out of time today, so I am going to give you that workout. It's a cute one. Okay, it's called Step Up Your Game, and you're not going to find this on YouTube. This is something that I got from an old routine. You're not going to find it on YouTube. Step up your game. Okay, we're going to do hip flexor abs. I want you to grab your pillow. We're going to put this in between your knees. We're going to stay in the hook lying position. If you can't do that, you're going to be sitting in a chair and you're just going to pull your knees up towards your chest and you're going to try to pretend that you're going to be doing crunches with me. That's going to be you. Not quite the same, but we're going to work it out. Here we go. Hook lying position. Block goes between your knees or your pillow. Interlace your hands behind your head, folks. Draw your elbows to the floor. Still not easy for me on my left side. So what? It looks ugly. Okay. Elbows stay drawn to the floor. Even as you lift, you want your elbows to keep drawing to the floor. You're going to find a spot on the ceiling behind you. Keep looking at it. If you lose that, you're doing it wrong. Keep looking at that spot. We're going to lift not only the feet up off of the floor, but we're going to lift our shoulders, head, and neck up off the floor. But keep looking at that spot. Very important. Do not curl your head forward. That's key. And lower down. We're going to get this done for 1 minute, up and down. If it's too much for you, leave your feet on the floor. This is basically a crunch, except I'm staying in extension in my upper body. I'm not rounding my upper body. That's the key. So I keep looking at the spot on the ceiling behind me in order to maintain that. If you take a look at what I'm doing, I'm not actually lifting that far off the floor. It's like 2 to 6 inches. Remember what I said about effort? Do less to do more. Keep your form clean, everybody. Keep it clean. This is called hip flexor abdominals because we're getting killing two birds with one stone. This is hip flexor work by picking the feet up off of the floor. This is abdominal work by flexing through our torso. Relax. It was 1 minute of work. Come to a standing position, please. Can't stand? Stay in your chair. This one's going to look ugly. I know you guys are going to look better than me. I forgot what the heck they call this one. I'll come up with it. So what we're going to do is we're reaching behind our body. I'll turn away from you so you can see. We're trying to reach the fingertips together, and then we're switching. See, this side looks ugly because of what I got going on with my left shoulder. Back and forth. We're going to do this for 1 minute. See, I'm better on one side than the other side. So what? 1 minute. I'm going to go back and forth. Cow face. That's it. Do this in yoga, except we don't make it quite so active. I am catching somebody's legs and I see this going on. So clean it up. If you notice you're standing like this or like that, make sure your feet are pointed straight ahead. Whenever we're doing a gasku and we come into our standing position, we're always being clean with our form. So whether it's a split leg form or standing with feet hip distance, or standing with our legs tandem, we want to be clean with our form. These are our exercises. Don't be all schleppy on me. Active cow face. Back and forth. You might go slower than me, but don't go faster than me. Coming down to hands and knees again. We're going to do bird dog. I have done this in the library in person with people that couldn't get on hands and knees. We've made stuff up by doing it on a chair. So you can get things done like this. Can't get on hands and knees, do it there. Lean on a chair. But I'm coming down to hands and knees for our bird dog. In yoga, we usually call this spinal balancing. This is not easy for everybody to do. So if you feel like you're getting off of balance, just keep the toes on the floor. You don't have to lift the leg just yet, but that's where you're working. You're working towards lifting the leg. Everybody feel your butt? Everybody feel your back? Good. Keep going. Whether you're using your chair or you're on hands and knees with me, or maybe you came up with something different. Maybe you got something different. Arm, leg opposite. Great, come back to your frog position. We're gonna do frog abdominals. Same idea with the last move that we did, with the beginning move for this workout, except we're not going to use the block. We're in the frog position. You're gonna press your feet together, interlace your hands behind your head, and we're gonna go for 1 minute. We're gonna crunch up, pick up the legs, but keep your hips in external rotation. Can't do it? Just leave the legs on the floor. Can't do that? Watch us for 1 minute. You can wait 1 minute. Remember, I'm looking on the ceiling behind me. I'm looking at a point behind me. Point behind me on the ceiling. I am not flexing through my upper back. I'm trying to keep my elbows on the floor, even as I lift. In a perfect world, as you lower back down, your elbows will hit the floor before your head and hands. It's impossible, but, or it seems impossible. Maybe somebody can do it. I've been looking at a lot of old European art. Oh my goodness, the bodies and the sculpture is so beautiful. You can imagine how they moved. Just beautiful pieces of art. Okay, come on out of that, everybody. You're doing great. I'm gonna take you into something called the full Cobra. It's not easy. It's not easy, but I know we can do it. You can do a version of it. If you can't get on the floor, I'm gonna have you guys come against the wall, and you're just gonna do a shoulders back move. By putting your hands on the wall, you're gonna drop your shoulders back and in towards each other, keeping the elbows nice and straight. That's all you're gonna do. Everybody else, I'm gonna take you onto the floor. In fact, we're gonna do a full Cobra with a frog. I'm gonna clean it up just a little bit. I'm gonna have everybody come onto the floor, belly on the floor. You're gonna place your elbows on the floor like you're kind of laying at the beach. If you know modified golf grip, take it. If you don't even worry about it, it's okay. I want you to drop your shoulder blades together. This is what we worked on with our cats and dogs. And here's the kicker. Let me back up so you guys can see. Here's the kicker. You drop your shoulder blades together, outwardly rotate through your upper arm. It's different than lower arm. I want upper arm. So your arms come to this 45-degree angle. You feel that down your back? You're gonna hold that. Now I'll show you what you're gonna do with your legs. So my forearms are parallel, drop in with my shoulders, outwardly rotate. Now take your legs into a frog and hold your feet together. You can drop your head if you want to, perfectly fine. So there's a lot of extension going on here, everybody. You might get cramps in your hamstring. You might get cramps in your feet. This is a toughie. In fact, I added on to this by giving you the frog with the feet pressed together. Again, if getting on the floor isn't working for you, you're going to stand with your hands on the wall. And you're going to drop your shoulders together just like I am here. Stay with me, everybody. Ooh-wee. Keep trying to rotate through your shoulders, out, back, and down. Good, done. I'm gonna have you guys lay on your back. No, we're not finished yet. I'm gonna give you the glam sequence, and then we'll tone it down. Glam sequence is really fun. Think of it like a jumping jack with just your legs. But when you do it, I want you to keep your feet parallel. As we abduct the legs, tendency is for us to outwardly rotate in our hips. Don't do it. Keep your feet parallel. So as you abduct, oh, everybody feel that right here? That's how you know you're doing it right. What we're gonna do is push our legs into the ground and lift our butt off of the floor with just our legs. I'm going to give you a minute. We're going to go between the two positions. Legs straight, legs open. Legs straight, legs open. Every time I come to one position, I lift my butt up off the floor. I come to, oops, there's my fan. Come to my open position, lift my butt up off the floor. Back and forth. That's how this movement works. If you guys are sitting in a chair, not quite sure how you can handle this or do this, you can definitely spread your legs and close your legs if you're in the chair, open and close. It's going to be more difficult for you. More difficult for you. But that's okay. So if you're laying in a chair, get your legs straight out in front of you, spread them open and close them. Obviously, you're not going to get a lift, but maybe you can. Surprise me. See if you can push your heels into the floor and lift your butt up off of the chair. Remember, everybody, keep your feet parallel to each other. This is our glam sequence. Oh, everything is so sticky. Oh, my calves are sticky. My heels are sticky. Oh, I feel like giving up. That's our glam sequence. Fantastic, everybody. Relax. I'm going to give you a nice, easy one. By that, I mean hard. We're going to come to a standing position. Standing position, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't done this one in a while. Put my fan on myself. Either come to a nice flat wall or your imaginary wall. We're going to do 1 minute on each side. We're going to do triangle. So spread your legs open. Spread your legs open. Feet stay parallel to start. Whether you're on a real wall or an imaginary wall. I'm going to point my left toes away from my body. So now my left foot is perpendicular to my right foot. I've got that going on. Knees stay straight in this one. You can almost feel your body starting to sink. You're going to hike into your right hip. Left foot points away from me, hike into the right hip. My torso is already leaning over towards the left. Think about that beautiful wall behind you. Everything is touching the wall. I'm going to hold for 1 minute. Oh, feel that shaking. Haven't touched this one in a while. If you're doing really good in this, you can bend your top elbow, thumb and pinky stay against the wall. Your left foot's going to be about 4 inches away from the wall. Right heel will be on the wall. So I start out with my heels on the wall, but as I pivot my left foot, as I pivot my left heel out, the left foot is going to actually come off the wall about 4 inches. 20 seconds. Come on out, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to the other side. I want you to start out with your heels on the wall, feet point straight ahead. Now we pivot the right foot. Sit into the left hip. Lean over. When I bend my top arm, it doesn't want to rotate anymore, so my form stinks, so I don't do it. I know it doesn't want to go just yet. It does not like doing that work. I'm still rehabbing it, so I'm doing what I can. You do what you can, but keep your form. Don't end up here. This is not the same move. Stand narrower if you have to. 10 seconds. Think about everything against the wall, 90-degree angles here. Come on out, my friends. We're going to squat for 5 breaths. Keep your feet hip distance. This is called our free squat. Feet hip distance, point straight ahead, arms in front. Squeeze your shoulders back. Sit in the imaginary chair. 5 breaths, friends. Imaginary chair. Keep your shoulders pinned on your back. Squeeze them. That is all I have for you today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that routine. Hope you sweated with me and had a good time. I'll be with you next week. If you will be too, I look forward to seeing you. Have yourself